All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is basically various topics dated February 17th, 2024, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. Now, pretty much this is a video that was sent to me, and the brother that sent it to me said that pretty much these individuals that you see here, this is Captain Tazariak. He has a page, Captain Tazariak's podcast. I linked this video in the description box, so if you want to go check it out. I only got to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I had to stop it to do a lesson on it. And pretty much what the brother said to me was that they're, making like gray areas surrounding the keeping of the Sabbath. And it's a shame, to see these groups, former One West groups, and the newer members, pervert the scriptures, and pervert the Sabbath, one of the most, the holiest day of the Lord, that he deems very special. These guys are pretty much just tearing it apart, and pretty much in this video here, somebody asked a question, and pretty much he was, going into the Sabbath. I'm gonna let him speak, because these guys get mad if you get one word, or you say one word that they didn't say, which you just pretty much paraphrasing how you remember. So I'll just let him speak, and then we'll touch on it. So I'm gonna let it go to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then we'll come back to it. So check it out.
Oh, there was this is why I'm missing my phones. Doesn't it say that the food had to be prepared the day before? If you can show me a scripture that says that there is an instance. So somebody's asking about the whole cooking on the Sabbath. On the there's an instance where when the Lord was sending down the quail, that they had to get that quail done the day before and not do nothing. But that's that instance. But that's not the norm. The scripture just says don't do no servile work. Even kindle a fire. If you know anything about making a fire, key life. I don't know if that's the word key life, but I don't like yesterday. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what it was. But kindling a fire even was work. So you just got to understand the spirit of that law. That's a master's law. That's not a servant's law. A servant can't break the Sabbath because it was made for you. Big Israel say don't.
All right, so you heard him. Pretty much he's saying that there's no law that says you can't cook on the Sabbath. Then he quotes one instance where it took place, but he said it was just that incident by itself, doesn't apply to anything else. That's just like Sakari saying that when the Apostle Paul told the Corinthians the men can't wear long hair, that only applied to the Corinthians, it didn't apply to the Ephesians. Then he also said that the Sabbath was a master's law and it wasn't a servant's law, so the servant couldn't break, the Sabbath. You could go back and rewind it and listen to it for yourself. There was a precept that came into my mind when I heard that, and I couldn't remember where it was at, but I found it. It's in Exodus chapter 20. We're going to start at verse 8. Now listen good, because he said that a servant can't break break the law, something like that. I figured out how he put it just now. All right, and now we'll go back and bring. Matter of fact, let me bring it back just a little bit so you can see.
I don't like yesterday. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what it was. But kindling a fire even was work. So you just got to understand the spirit of that law. That's a master's law. That's not a servant's law. A servant can't break the Sabbath because it was made for you.
All right, so a servant can't break the Sabbath because it was made for you. It was also made for the servants too. It was a day of rest. That's what the word Sabbath means. Exodus 20 and 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai thy power. In it thou shalt do thou shalt not do any work. Thou, meaning you, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So that applies to everyone. No one is supposed to work on that day. And if they did work, guess what? They were breaking the Sabbath. All right. So I don't know where Captain Tazariak is getting this from. This perverse, spirit that's out there, dealing with the laws of the Sabbath of the Lord. Another thing they teach, ISUPK teaches it, IUIC teaches it, Sakari teaches it, and I'm not sure if any other groups teach this, but we don't teach it. They say that you can have sex on the Sabbath. It's just it's just like if you eat ice cream on the Sabbath, ice cream is pleasurable. But ice cream doesn't make you unclean. All right? So I don't know where this perverse spirit is coming from. So the scriptures say that the manservant or maidservant or the stranger that is within thy gates cannot do any type of work. Cooking is work. Then he goes into the kindling, and they say, this is what he said about the kindling. When it says here specifically in Ezekiel 35:3, you shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath days. He said, well, that takes work. Well, if you're cooking, you don't cook, without fire. You have to kindle a fire. You have to make the fire. So you're not supposed to, if you're not supposed to kindle a fire, it means you're not supposed to cook. Bottom line. But I don't know what's going on with these individuals out here. It's like they're losing it. And when you go down here, the word kindle, right? It says throughout your habitation. Kindle is the word ba'ir, right? The word ba'ir, which means to burn, consume, kindle, be kindled. Basically, this is used for cooking purposes. All right? Now, when we go back, right, the word there is fire. The word there, fire is what? Ash. Fire, flames. Okay? So you're not supposed to make any fires on the Sabbath. So if you're not supposed to make any fires on the Sabbath, that means you're not supposed to cook. Now, the one instance that he spoke about with the quails was here in Exodus chapter 16, right? And in Exodus chapter 16, this is already a law that was already written down dealing with the Sabbath. Moses had already gave that law to the Israelites not to break the Sabbath, to rest on the Sabbath. And we read that it was them, their sons, their daughters, their manservant, their maidservant, their cattle, their stranger. Nothing is supposed to work that day. There was an instance where the elder pastor told us about this instance where they were doing deliveries, and he got to this small hat's house, and he had a delivery for them, but they couldn't take it because it was a Sabbath for them. So he said, well, look, have your servant take it. He said, nope, the servant can't take it either. So even these small hats know how to keep the Sabbath better than you guys. And you guys are the Israelites. It's a goddamn shame, man. So he speaks about, well, there's only one instance where weren't supposed to cook. But that was just for that instance alone. So then we might as well apply that to everything. According to your logic, just like Sakari teaches, well, the Apostle Paul only wrote that law that men can have long hair just in Corinth. But if thou beest at Ephesus, and thou hast long hair, if you peradventure decide to come to Corinth, thou must cut thy hair, thy long hair, because in Corinth you cannot have long hair, but in Ephesus you can. How stupid is that? Exodus 16:4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. And that's the point. Whether they will walk in my law or no. They were given instructions, but they weren't following the instructions. And that's the same thing that's going on with a lot of these Israelites out here today that know that they're Israelites. It says, and it shall come to pass that on the 6th day, right, which is the day before the Sabbath, right? 6 days shall work be done. They shall prepare that which they bring in, because they're supposed to prepare it. And what does it mean to prepare? It means to do it beforehand. And they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much the day, twice as much as they gather daily. Why? Because the next day, which is the Sabbath, they will not be able to go out gathering. They will not be able to go out cooking. So they will gather twice as much and prepare it all that day, so that they will have to do no work that Sabbath day except for just eating. No cooking, no kindling fire, none of that. Now when we jump down to the 22nd verse, it goes into it further. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread. Why? Because you couldn't do this on the Sabbath. 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said, tomorrow is the rest, that he sanctioned all the way back in the book of Genesis 2, of the holy Sabbath unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Bake that which you will bake today, and seethe that you will see today, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. So they were not supposed to cook on the Sabbath. They were not supposed to kindle any fire on the Sabbath, because the act of kindling the fire means that you're cooking. Mean if you kindle the fire, or if you have to cook, you have to kindle the fire. Now let's look up these 2 words. Let's look up the word bake. Look up the word bake. The word there for bake is apa, to bake, baker, right? Now, it says a primitive root to cook, especially to bake meats. So to cook. So the word implies cooking. So you're not supposed to cook. Now, it says the word seethe, which the word seethe means to like boil. Like when it says thou shalt not seethe a child, or they shall not see the kid in his mother's milk, meaning when the lamb is a baby lamb, you're not supposed to eat it. You're supposed to wait till after a year, after it's weaned from his mother's breast. You know, when you go to the store and you buy veal is unlawful because it's a baby goat. I mean, a baby lamb. It's not fully developed yet. It's not fully grown yet. It wasn't weaned from his mother's milk. You're not supposed to eat that, even though it comes from a clean animal. It was not. It didn't go through the proper channels to be able to be lawful to eat. So the word there for seethe is the word bashal, meaning to boil, cook, bake, roast, ripen, grow ripe, to boil, cook. See, to sodden, to be sodden. So pretty much the point is to cook. You're not supposed to cook anything. It says to boil up, hence to be done in cooking. Figuratively, to ripen, bake, boil, bring forth, roast, seethe, sod. So you're not supposed to cook on the Sabbath, man. You're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath. But these guys, they got this reprobate spirit on them, you know. And I'm surprised at Captain Tazaria, because he is a very brilliant debater, you know. He has very good research skills. But for some reason, some of these things are evading him. So the question begs, what's going on? What's really happening? You know, did you guys get a bag to start teaching this bullshit? Or are you losing it like that? You know? Now, when we go to Exodus chapter 12, right? The point is in 16. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the day there shall be, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. So what's that? So you're not supposed to cook. You're not supposed to prepare anything. But the food that you have prepared, you can go grab that and eat it. you know, that you had prepared from the day before, because that's how you would do it, because you had the day of preparation, which was the day before the Sabbath. And the New Testament speaks about that. Matter of fact, even in the book of Judith, which I was looking up a commentary, and this scripture popped up, pretty good scripture. This is Judith chapter 8, verse 6. And she, meaning Judith, fasted all the days of her widowhood. Save, the only time she didn't fast was the eves of the Sabbath, meaning the day before the Sabbath, and the Sabbath, and the eves of the new moon, because the new moons were also a Sabbath, and the new moons, and the feasts and solemn days of the house of Israel. All right? Because the day before the Sabbath was when you would get everything done, and you would make twice as much, because the next day you were not able to cook. So everything would already be prepared. So all you had to do was just grab your food and eat it. And that's what it says here. No manner of work shall be, this is back in Exodus 12:16, towards the middle. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Now, when we go to Mark, we'll just go to this one, Mark 15:42. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. Why was it called the preparation? Because they would make all the necessary provisions, all the cooking, prior to the sun going down. So when the sun went down, that would be the Sabbath day. That, in this case, it was the Passover, right? And they would be able to eat that evening, and no one would have to cook. It says, and that in Luke 23:54, and that day was a preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. See, so you had the day of preparation was when you prepared everything. That's what it was for. Because on the Sabbath there was no work to be done. For you, for your sons, for your daughters, for your manservants, for your maidservants, for your cattle, and for the stranger that is within thy gates. So Desire is dead wrong on this. Just like they're dead wrong about you could have sex on the Sabbath. Just like they're dead wrong about John the Baptist fell out the truth. Just like they're dead wrong that the MOTB is an embargo. And it just seems like these groups are starting to wax worse and worse, as the scriptures say. You know, it's a sad sight to see, man. Just some basic stuff, you know, basic building block, you know, fundamentals of the scriptures. These guys are twisting and contorting it, you know. But hey, Yahushua said it best. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, and I'll probably end it there, unless the Spirit, you know, moves me to continue on doing, you know, go into other topics. Because I called it various topics for a reason, because I wasn't sure where the Spirit would go. All right, now, Matthew 5:17. Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled, and nothing has passed. The only thing that passed from the law was the law of sacrifice for sin offerings. All right, and Yahushua fulfilled that when he gave himself up on the cross. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. See, these guys say you can have sex on the Sabbath. You know, they say you can cook on the Sabbath. And they still believe that Friday night to Saturday night is a Sabbath, but then they'll have cookouts that Saturday at a park somewhere, or barbecue or cookout, whatever. You know? But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. You know? Then it says, for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So I don't know what's going on out there with these individuals, but something ain't right. You know, something is not right. You know, so we don't know if these guys are taking bags and slowly changing stuff. We don't know what's happening, you know, with that whole situation. You know, but it's crazy that they're pushing this madness out here, man. This perverse spirit. You know, which Yahushua spoke about it, the Apostle Paul spoke about it, the Apostle Peter spoke about it, the Apostle Jude spoke about it. The ancient prophets, you know, in the ancient world spoke about it. Individuals coming up, false prophets coming up. So we don't know what's going on, but something ain't right. And you heard it out of the horse's mouth. Matter of fact, I'll bring it back and I'll end it there. Let's go back to about right here.
Kindle a fire. If you know anything about making a fire, key life. I don't know if that's the word key life, but I don't like yesterday. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what it was. But kindle a fire even was word. So you just got to understand the spirit of that law. That's a master's law. That's not a servant's law. A servant can't break the Sabbath because it was made for you.
You know, and if he would have said, you know, a servant can't break the law if he's forced to cook on the Sabbath, or he's made to cook on the Sabbath, or he cooks on the Sabbath. Pretty much, you know, he didn't say it all the way, but pretty much that's what it seems like he's implying. You know, now he could, you know, say nope, that's not true, but what did you mean by that? And we read here in Exodus 20:10 that but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy servant, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant. These are the servants, the slaves, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So if they did anything on the Sabbath, guess what? They broke the Sabbath. You see? So I don't know what Captain Desire is talking about. But with that, I'm gonna leave it there. You know, Lord's will, Spirit hit me. I'll come through with another lesson. Yahweh Shemal Shai Ratazah. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.